The first sign of trouble was not the alarm. It was the silence. Every creature in his xenofauna wing of Galactic Station Orwell 9 went quiet at the same moment, as if the air itself had learned to hold its breath. Then the containment seal on Pod 17C blew outward, in a shower of sparks and twisted metal, and something very large and very angry stepped into the corridor. Rilla was 2 rooms away when it happened. She dropped her data tablet and pressed herself flat against the wall, all 4 of her arms wrapped tight around her own body. Through the observation glass, she could see the emergency lights painting the hallway red. She could hear claws on metal, heavy breathing, a low, wet growl that vibrated through the floor and into her bones. The Sundaran Razor Maw was loose. Station-wide alarms erupted 3 seconds later. Ganeth's voice cut through every speaker on every level, cold and sharp. Full lockdown. All personnel evacuate the research wing immediately. Armed response teams to assembly points. Rilla did not move. She could not move. The creature was right outside her lab. She had spent 4 months studying it through reinforced glass, watching it pace and snarl and slam its armored body against the walls of its pod. She had written reports about its declining mental state, its refusal to eat, the way its bioluminescent streaks had shifted from calm blues to angry, pulsing reds. She had filed 3 separate requests to improve its containment conditions. All 3 had been denied. Now it was free and she was trapped, and she could hear Ganeth already talking about kill teams. 3 levels above the research wing, Danny Reeves was shoulder-deep in a cargo crate, sorting supply packets for the station commissary. He was a quiet man, the kind who did his work without complaint and ate his meals alone. 32 years old, brown hair going gray at the temples, hands rough from years of physical labor. He had come to Orwell 9 on a 6-month hauling contract because it paid well and because there was nothing left for him back on Earth. When the alarm hit, Danny pulled himself out of the crate and listened. Around him, alien workers scrambled for the exits. A Paleki security officer jogged past, barking orders into a communicator. Danny caught his arm. What got out? The officer stared at him with wide, panicked eyes. Sundaran Razor Maw, Class 7 Apex Predator. 6 legs, armored plating, venomous quills. It will kill anything it touches. Danny let go of the officer's arm. He stood very still for a moment. Something moved behind his eyes. Something old and familiar, like a muscle he had not used in a long time. Then he started walking, not toward the evacuation point, toward the research wing. The same security officer called after him. Human, that area is sealed. Where are you going? Danny did not look back. I have experience with large predators. It will eat you. Danny said nothing. He kept walking. He moved through corridors that were emptying fast. Every species on the station was running in the opposite direction. He passed Maloney traders pressing themselves in a service closets, engineers sealing blast doors behind them, and a group of tiny Fenari merchants who screamed when they saw him heading toward the danger instead of away from it. He found a research wing access door locked and sealed. He pulled the emergency override panel open, entered the maintenance code that every cargo hauler learned on their first week, and stepped through. The corridor beyond was dark. The main lights had failed when the pod blew. Only the red emergency strips along the floor still glowed, casting everything in a dim, bloody light. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and something else. Musk, iron, fear. Danny could hear the creature somewhere ahead breathing in short, ragged bursts. Not the steady breathing of a hunter, the fast, shallow breathing of something terrified. He walked forward. In the command center, Ganeth stood rigid before a wall of security screens. He watched the human enter the corridor alone, unarmed, and his gray-scaled face twisted in disbelief. What is he doing? He said in no one. Rilla, still trapped in her observation lab, had patched into the security feed on her tablet. She watched Danny's heat signature move down the corridor toward the much larger heat signature of the Razor Maw. Her hands were shaking. Her throat was tight. She had read the files on Sundaran Razor Maws. They could bite through starship hull plating. Their quills carried a neurotoxin that could stop a heart in 90 seconds. They had killed trained capture teams at 12. No one approached one without heavy armor and enough sedative to drop a shuttle. This human had nothing. No automa, no weapon, no sedative. Just his hands in his pockets and a walk that looked almost casual, like he was strolling through a park on a Sunday afternoon. On the security feed, every alien watching held their breath. Danny reached the bend in the corridor. Beyond it, in the deepest shadows, something enormous shifted. Two eyes caught the red light and reflected it back, hot and amber and furious. Danny stopped walking. He looked at the eyes in the dark. The eyes looked back. Rila pressed her face against the glass and whispered to herself, "He's going to die." Danny did not run. He did not shout. He did not reach for a weapon he did not have. He simply lowered himself to the ground slowly. Like a man settling into a chair he had sat in 1,000 times, and folded his legs beneath him on the cold metal floor. The Razor Maw watched him from the darkness of the maintenance alcove. It was enormous, even crouched low on its 6 legs. Its armored back nearly touched the ceiling. Dark plating covered its body like overlapping shields, scarred and dull from months of slamming against containment walls. Along its spine, bioluminescent streaks pulsed in rapid, angry bursts of red and orange. Its quills stood straight up, each one longer than Danny's forearm. Each one loaded with enough venom to kill him before his body hit the floor. It growled. The sound was not loud. It was deep. A vibration that Danny felt in his chest more than heard with his ears. He did not look at its eyes. He looked at the floor. He made his shoulders soft. He breathed slowly in through his nose, out through his mouth, and after a few breaths he began to hum. It was not a song. It was barely a tune, just a low, steady sound, the kind a person might make while working alone in a quiet room. Back in Montana, Danny used to hum like this when he sat outside the wolf enclosure at his sanctuary, letting the animals get used to his presence. Wolves could hear your heartbeat. They could smell your fear. The only way to earn their trust was to have no fear to smell. The Razor Maw's growl faded, not gone, but quieter, its massive head tilted to one side. In the command center, Ganeth's claws dug into the edge of his console. The human has been in there for 4 minutes. Why is he not dead? No one answered him. Rilla, watching from her lab on a cracked tablet screen, had her bioscanner running. She had aimed it through the glass toward the corridor, and the readings made her blink. The creature's stress hormones were elevated but not spiking. Its heart rate, which had been dangerously high since the escape, was slowing. "He is calming it down," she said softly to no one but herself. 10 minutes passed. Danny did not move. He hummed, he breathed. The Razor Maw stayed in its alcove, quills still raised but no longer fully bristled. The angry red pulsing along its spine had shifted. Not to blue, not yet, but to a darker, uncertain amber. Danny reached into his jacket pocket. He moved like he was underwater, every motion deliberate and visible. He pulled out a ration bar, the cheap, dense kind they gave cargo workers. He broke it in half. He set one piece on the floor and slid it forward with his fingertips. Not far, just a meter or so. Then he put the other half in his own mouth and chewed. The creature's nostrils flared. Its head dropped lower, sniffing the air. It did not touch the food but stopped growling entirely. At the corridor entrance, the security team had arrived. 6 Pilecki soldiers in full tactical armor, carrying tranquilizer rifles, and behind those plasma repeaters. Ganeth's voice crackled through their earpieces. "Hold position. Prepare tranquilizers first. If those fail, lethal force is authorized." Rylas's voice cut into the channel. She had overridden the intercom from her lab. "Wait, please, look at the readings. Look at what is happening." "What is happening?" Ganeth said flatly. "Is that a human is sitting on the floor next to a creature that eats things larger than him." "And it is not eating him," Rylas said. "Do you not find it worth studying for 5 more minutes?" Ganeth said nothing. The security team held. 20 minutes now. Danny shifted slightly, uncrossing and recrossing his legs. The Razor Maw flinched at the movement but did not retreat. Its eyes, those huge amber eyes, had not left Danny's face. Danny spoke for the first time. His voice was low and even, almost a murmur. "You are all right. Nobody is going to hurt you. You're just scared." "I know what that feels like." The words did not matter. The creature did not speak English, but it heard the tone. It heard the rhythm, steady, warm, unthreatening. The same rhythm Danny had used with a half-starved wolf named Cedar, who had been trapped in a poacher's snare for 3 days. The same rhythm he had used with a blind black bear cub that screamed every time it heard footsteps. The creature's quills lowered. Not all of them, but enough. And then it moved. One step, slow and careful, testing the weight on each of its 6 legs. Its claws clicked against the metal floor. Its armored head swung low, nostrils working, reading Danny's scent like a book written in a language only it could understand. It took another step. Rila's hand flew to her mouth. On the security feed, every screen on the station showed the same image. A Class 7 apex predator cataloged as untamable, with claws that could shred hull plating and venom that could stop a heart, was walking toward an unarmed human sitting on the floor. And it was not attacking. Danny stayed perfectly still. His hands rested open on his knees, palms up, fingers relaxed. He kept humming. The creature was close now, close enough that he could feel the heat radiating from its massive body, could see the individual scratches on its armor, where it had thrown itself against its cage again and again and again. It stopped less than 2 and away. Its breath washed over Danny's face, hot and sour. Those amber eyes stared into his. Danny did not look away. In the command center, Ganoff leaned forward. On every screen across, Orwell 9 aliens of 30 different species watched in total silence. The Razor Maw lowered its head just slightly and let out a long, slow breath. It was not a growl. It was not a warning. It was the sound of something very tired deciding, just for a moment, to stop being afraid. Rilla had argued with Ganoff exactly twice in her career. The first time she had lost. The second time was now, and she was not planning to lose again. "Give him more time," she said through the intercom. Her voice steady despite the trembling in all 4 of her hands. "The creature has not shown aggression in over 30 minutes. This is unprecedented behavior. If you send the kill team in now, you destroy the most important xenofauna observation in a decade." Ganoff's silence lasted long enough that Rilla thought he had cut the channel. Then his voice returned, cold and thin. 1 hour. If the creature is not contained in 1 hour, I end this." It was enough. Rilla grabbed her portable bioscanner and a medical kit from the supply shelf and left, her lab through the service corridor. She was terrified. Her species, the Maloney, were small, fragile. They evolved on a gentle world with shallow seas and soft winds. Everything about Orwell 9 was too loud, too harsh, too dangerous. And now she was walking toward a Razor Maw. She reached the secondary observation point, a narrow window that looked directly into the maintenance alcove. What she saw through it made her stop breathing. Danny was sitting exactly where he had been. The Razor Maw was closer now, less than a meter away, its enormous body curled into a half circle around the spot where Danny sat. Its quills were down. Its bioluminescent streaks had shifted from angry amber to a slow, uncertain purple, and Danny was talking to it softly about nothing. "You remind me of a bear I knew once," he was saying. "Big girl. Found her in a ditch off Highway 93 with a broken leg. Everyone said to shoot her. I sat with her for 6 hours. Before she let me touch the leg." The creature did not understand the words, but its breathing had matched Danny's, slow and deep, and its eyes were half closed. Rilla activated the intercom to the corridor. "Danny, I can see you. I have a medical kit." Danny did not turn his head. "It has a wound. Left flank near the 3rd leg joint. The pod seal must have cut it when it broke out. It needs cleaning." Rilla looked through the dim light. She could see it now. A deep gash in the softer tissue between 2 armor plates, dark with dried blood. The creature had been injured during its escape, and no one had noticed because everyone had been too busy running. "I will send a service drone," she said. The drone arrived 2 minutes later, hovering at the corridor entrance with a medical kit dangling from its undercarriage. The Razor Maw's head snapped up at the sound. Its quills twitched. A low rumble started in its chest. Danny raised one hand, palm out, and made a soft shushing sound. The rumble faded. The creature's eyes flicked between Danny and the drone. And when Danny did not react to it with fear, the creature settled. Danny retrieved the kit with the same underwater slowness he used for everything. He opened on the floor and looked at the contents. Basic antiseptic, wound sealant, bandaging strips. Not designed for an animal the size of a ground car, but it would do. He moved toward the wound. The creature tensed. Every muscle in its massive body locked. And for one terrible second, Rilla thought it would strike. Danny paused. He held perfectly still, one hand extended, and waited. The seconds stretched. Then the Razor Maw exhaled and relaxed, just barely, and Danny pressed the antiseptic pad against the wound. It flinched. A sharp hiss escaped its jaws, and one clawed foot scraped across the floor hard enough to leave grooves in the metal. But it did not attack. It did not even pull away. Danny worked slowly, cleaning the gash, applying sealant, pressing bandaging strips over the wound. At one point, the creature turned its head and pressed its nose against Danny's arm. It breathed in long and slow, pulling its scent deep into its lungs. Danny let it. He did not flinch, did not tense, did not show trace of fear. Rilla's bioscanner beeped. She looked at the readings and felt something crack open in her chest. The creature's cortisol levels, the stress hormones that had been screaming since the day it arrived on the station, were dropping. Not slowly, rapidly, as if some deep primal part of the animal's brain had decided, against all logic and all instinct, that this particular human was safe. "Ow," she whispered into the intercom. "How are you doing this?" Danny finished the bandaging. He sat back and rested his hands on his knees. The creature had not moved away. Its flank pressed against his leg, warm and heavy through the armor plating. "On Earth," Danny said quietly, "humans have been doing this for a long time. We lived with wolves and bears and big cats, things that could kill us every single day. Most species would have wiped them out or run from them. We did something different." He paused. His hand drifted to the creature's neck just below the jaw and rested there. The creature let out a deep, rumbling breath. "We learned that almost everything that attacks you is just scared, hurt or scared or both. If you can show it that you're not a threat, if you can be patient enough and quiet enough and calm enough, most things will choose peace over violence, even the dangerous ones, especially the dangerous ones." In the command center, Ganoff listened to every word with his jaw clenched. On his homeworld, this was insanity. Predators were destroyed. That was the natural order. Back in the corridor, the Razor Maw's massive head lowered. It pressed against Danny's side, heavy enough to shift his weight. Its eyes closed. The bioluminescent streaks along its spine shifted, finally from uncertain purple to a slow, deep blue. It slapped. Danny sat with it, one hand on its armored head, and did not move. Rilla set her bioscanner down. She realized her face was wet. She pressed two of her hands against her eyes and breathed in, shaking. She picked up a recorder and held it close to her mouth. Her voice was barely a whisper. "I think I understand now why the galaxy calls humans terrifying. It's not because they fight. It is because they love things that can destroy them. And somehow that love works in 12 hours. Danny had been sitting on that cold metal floor for 12 hours, and he had not once asked to leave. Station workers sent food and water through service drones. Danny ate when the creature slept and drank when it was calm. He moved only when he had to, and even then slowly, always keeping one hand where the Razor Maw could see it or feel it. The creature, in turn, had not left his side. It lay curled around him like a wall of armor and teeth, its 6 legs tucked beneath its body, its breathing deep and steady. Rilla had not slept either. She sat at the observation window with her data tablet recording everything. Heart rate, cortisol levels, neural activity patterns. All of it painting a picture that no xenobiologist in the galaxy had ever seen. A Sundaran Razor Maw, the most aggressive apex predator in 3 star systems, was behaving like a domesticated animal. At hour 13, Danny spoke into the intercom. "I'm going to call it Briar." Rilla looked up. "What? The creature?" "It needs a name. I'm calling it Briar, after a thorny bush that grew around my old place back in Montana. Tough on the outside, beautiful if you got close enough." Rilla typed the name into her records. Subject designation, Briar. She stared at the word and felt something warm settle in her chest. The warmth did not last. Ganeth appeared at her observation post 30 minutes later, his gray-scaled face drawn tight. He held a data tablet of his own, and on it was an official communication from the Galactic Fauna Authority. "They want it contained or destroyed by station evening cycle," he said. "Those are not my words. Those are their orders." Rilla stood up so fast she knocked her own tablet off the ledge. "You cannot be serious. Look at the data. Look at what is happening in there. This animal has shown an 80% reduction in aggression markers in less than a day. It is still a Class 7 predator. It is sleeping next to an unarmed human." Ganeth's jaw tightened. "Exactly. And when it wakes up hungry, that human becomes a meal. I will not be responsible for that." Rilla patched Danny into the conversation. She told him about the order. There was a long pause. Then Danny's voice came through the speaker, calm and flat. "I'm not putting it back in a cage." Ganeth stepped closer to the intercom. "You do not have a choice, human. The containment conditions are what caused this. The pod was too small. The lighting was wrong. It had no enrichment, no stimulation, nothing to do but go insane. It broke out because it was suffering. Not because it was dangerous. It is dangerous. So am I, Danny said. You do not see? Anyone trying to put me in a pod. Ganeth did not appreciate the comparison. He told Danny,